Hey guys, you remember the movie Boys in the Hood? That is a classic, heartfelt movie starring Lawrence Fishburne, Morris Chestnut, and Cuba Gooding Jr. That movie felt too real. Lloyd Avery is the one who played one of the Bloods gang member who took the life of Ricky, played by Morris Chestnut. When he leaned out of the window of the bright red Hyundai with his weapon to get Ricky, it gave me chills. It was his eyes for me. It was a short scene, but the one that stood out the most for me. It was the most memorable scene in that film. He was then taken out by Doughboy Ice Cube's character as revenge for Ricky dying. A lot of the cast members had a terrible ending, including Lloyd. Lloyd Avery was born in Los Angeles, California, to Lloyd Avery Sr., a self employed service technician, and his mother was Linda Avery, who was a stay at home mom, but she would later go on to work at a bank in the late 80s. He grew up in View Park, a working class neighborhood in LA. He had three other siblings, two brothers and a sister. He had a comfortable childhood. His brother Kay said that they were silver spoon kids. He said we never needed for anything. They were a family of six who had a pool in their backyard. They were raised in a Christian household. Their parents taught them the value of good education, and they were enrolled in school integration programs. He attended Beverly Hills High School and graduated. There he excelled in baseball and water polo. Despite him having a shy nature, he was known as a fun person to be around. He would usually tell jokes to his classmates. It is said that he didn't do a lot of dating, but the girls in his lectures liked his pretty boy looks and long eyelashes. While he was in high school, he was friends with Smokey Robinson's children, music executive Clarence Avant and Quincy Jones. He and his fellow students would often attend house parties on the weekends, meeting up in mansions while the parents were on vacation. But Lloyd did not drink or do drugs. Instead, he liked to play a game called Party and Pouch. Actor and friend Doran Reed refers to it as steal stuff at parties just to steal stuff. He attended Los Angeles Straight Technical College and he aspired to have a career in music. He allegedly had a knack for exposing insecurities, pushing buttons, and developed somewhat of a sarcastic streak, which sometimes provoked a reaction and sometimes things would get violent. His friend Brent Rollins, the actor, the art director, and graphic designer who created the logo for Boys in the Hood, recalled how one time comedian Robin Harris attacked Lloyd at a Jet magazine photo shoot minutes after meeting him. He said he doesn't know what Lloyd said to him. All he remembered was that Robin Harris was choking him against the sofa. He said Lloyd had a mischievous streak and a really sweet streak. Rollins said the day before Christmas, Lloyd would drive around to people's houses to give them Christmas cards. Mhm. Allegedly, one night in 1988, Lloyd and several friends, including Doran Reed, were leaving a UCLA party in Westwood when they were approached by a group of frat brothers. Lloyd Avery cracked a joke. Some words were exchanged between the groups, and soon a fight broke out. Then, just as a patrol car appeared down the street, three gunshots rang out. Although Lloyd was not the one who fired the weapon, he was carrying a fake ID, which caused him to spend 3 days in jail. His friends became concerned with his reaction to getting arrested. Lloyd Avery's friend Keith Davis said he told me that he really liked jail. It's like, how the hell do you get locked up and you just enjoy it? He was so flippant. After Lloyd dropped out of Los Angeles Trade Technical College, he worked with his father. He had a passion for music, but his father disapproved. In June 1990, he was arrested for stealing studio equipment from a guitar center. It was around this time that he would get his big break. His friend, John Singleton, was making his first feature film, Boys in the Hood. Lloyd would later explain during his murder trial, he said, I met the right person at the right time and they put me in a movie. Lloyd Avery was required to be on set to show support, whether he was on the day's call sheets or not. His co stars remember him as friendly and humble, and he apparently took direction well from his friend John Singleton, who prepared him for his big scene. The most significant scene of that movie. John instructed him at every turn. He showed him how to point the gun and how to generate a simultaneously cold hearted stare. Boy, I think he got that stare down pat. I still can just picture that scare. I can never forget that stare. So Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to be in that scene. He was going to watch his best friend get killed. I read that at that time Cuba was a method actor. And just before they started shooting, Lloyd Avery greeted him and Cuba snapped and said, Don't effing talk to me. And a production assistant stepped in to defuse the situation. From what I've heard about method acting, the actor goes deep in the character. It's like they become the character they're playing. Despite that, they did finish the scene, and the scene was epic. My word, I still get chills thinking about it. Even though he appeared in small scenes of the movie, he became a celebrity around the neighborhoods of Los Angeles. He was instantly recognizable. Initially, he enjoyed his newfound status. He hired an agent and went on numerous auditions. During this time, his music career began to take off as he produced Push, the lead single on actress Tisha Campbell's debut album, Tisha. He also had a role as a thug in John Singleton's follow up movie, Poetic Justice, in 1993, with Janet Jackson, Regina King, and Tupac. He starred alongside his brother Kev. That film did not do well at the box office, though. Shortly after the release of Boys in the Hood, Lloyd Avery surprised people close to him by moving away from his middle class neighborhood and relocating to an area known as the Jungle. It was a heavily blood affiliated neighborhood of Crenshaw Boulevard, Coliseum Street, La Brea Avenue, and Santa Thomas Drive. It seemed that Lloyd embraced the culture of his new home. His friend Keith Davis remembers the first time Lloyd revealed his blood affiliation. He said, and I quote, Some rolling sixes came up and were like, You're the guy from Boys in the Hood. Yeah, that was me. Hey, cuz, you really a blood? And he said, Yeah, what's up, blood? Keith said he was looking at him like, What? And Lloyd just kind of laughed. Lloyd knew the dangers of being in a gang. His younger brother lost his life to the streets. Lloyd Avery got the respect an OG gets due to his role in that movie. His brother, K. Avery, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, said once he came across someone with Avery's face tattooed on his forearm. Lloyd wanted to be a star and he became frustrated and angry that it was not going the way he wanted. Casting opportunities like Boys in the Hood had come so easily that Lloyd believed every role would come so easily. Allegedly, he rarely prepared for auditions, if he bothered showing up at all. His music career also did not go well despite his connections in the industry. He had an uncredited role in the Wayans Brothers' 1996 crime comedy film, Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. John Singleton was still fond of him. He found his practical jokes endearing. But Lloyd allegedly continued to antagonize him, and it got to the point where John stopped taking his calls. As his friends grew up and moved on, Lloyd became more isolated. His acting work would dry up. He cashed small residual checks and washed cars for $5 a time. LA police had suspicions that he was selling crack. In February 1999, he starred in an uncredited role as man in jail in a comedy film, The Breaks. Lloyd fled the jungle in April 1999 after what was described as an altercation with members of the Nation of Islam. He cleaned out his apartment in the middle of the night and stayed at his grandmother's house. Allegedly, not long after leaving his longtime apartment, he decided to share a Hollywood crash pad with four surfer bros he just met. That ended when he maced the roommate's mother, allegedly. There was a time at a nightclub he also allegedly maced former MTV VJ Downtown Julie Brown. His life was going downhill. He allegedly would steal a bike or a car to get to work. It was also said that he packed a gun to a casting call. Allegedly, a witness claimed to have seen him wielding a gun during an argument on the Venice Beach boardwalk. He seemed violent one minute, then weepy and apologetic the next. He started going to church, but would rarely make it inside. His aunt, Carol Avery, said he would get dressed, go, but there he would be there, but would leave prior to the lesson and walk around the grounds. She said she figured Satan was pulling at him to keep him from hearing the lesson. In 1999, he was accused of being in a gang related incident. It was alleged that he participated in the killing of two drug dealers. Even though he no longer lived in the jungle, he still hung out with the residents there. On July 1st, 1999, at around 4 p.m., it is alleged that he approached Annette Lewis and Percy Branch, who were sitting under a tree near Santa Barbara Plaza. According to the police, after a short argument, allegedly over a drug debt, Lloyd Avery pulled out a 45 caliber pistol. He allegedly fired the weapon at Lewis before turning it on Branch, who was shot in the stomach. Annette Lewis died that day, while Percy Branch passed away 3 weeks later. So it was alleged that he committed this crime. He did not go into hiding after the killings. Instead, he went to film two movies. While staying at his grandmother's house, he received some unexpected good news from his agent at Privileged Talent and Models that he had booked a movie role in New Mexico. So he heard that he got this role in New Mexico, and I'm guessing this was exciting for him. 13 days after the killings, he was on set for the filming of Lockdown, which started on July 14th, 1999, in cell block 4 of the penitentiary of New Mexico. This location was the scene of one of the deadliest prison riots in United States history. It was known as the Old Main, and this section of the prison was closed down in 1998. It is said that the atmosphere on the set was tense. When filming wrapped for the day, the crew would often unwind at a local bar. Lloyd refused to mix with the crew, preferring to remain in his hotel room. He got into it with Gabriel Cassius following their fight scene, during which his character Nate was thrown into a freezer. He allegedly was continuously antagonizing Percy Miller, aka Master P, who was one of the stars and producers of the film. As a result, the producers cut some of Lloyd's scenes, and he was soon to be thrown off set. On the day Lloyd was fired from the sets of Lockdown, he was spotted by a crew smoking a shrimp stick on the back of a grip truck during his lunch break while blasting music from a stolen boombox, allegedly. Despite that, he was optimistic about his career upon returning to LA. He started attending auditions and even wrote a movie script titled G in a Bottle. Lloyd Avery landed what was supposed to be his most influential role to date as the gangster G Ride in the 2001 independent indie film called Shot. The film's writer and director, Roger Roth, says he was impressed by Lloyd's audition, who had underplayed his emotions during the scene he read. Lloyd would be the ideal method actor for the role. He asked Roth to address him as G Ride and kept his prop gun tucked into his waistband. The role came naturally to Lloyd Avery, and it showed in his performance. Roth said he's one of the best actors I've ever worked with. He could nail every line. He could make you believe it. He could make you feel it. Lloyd was completely invested in the project. Lloyd ended up falling out with Roth. He allegedly promised he would kill him. The LA detectives was still investigating the double murders. They were aware of where Lloyd was at his grandmother's. His brother Kes said the helicopters that morning were louder than usual, and there was a lot of traffic outside his grandmother's house. Lloyd was in the kitchen with his bike, and before he left through the back door, he gave his brother one last hug. He made his way to Crescent Heights Boulevard, making a U turn where he pulled alongside the driver's side door of a police cruiser. He allegedly leaned forward and asked the officer, "What's up?" Just then, the officer opened his door and Lloyd stumbled momentarily before recovering quickly, speeding west in an attempt to elude the pursuing police vehicle. He soon collided with another police car and was placed under arrest for the double murders. He was incarcerated at the North County Correctional Facility while awaiting trial, and there he found God and salvation in Chaplain Dennis Clark's congregation. After 2 years at the jail, he went to trial in December 2000. Each morning in court, he carried his Bible with highlighted passages and scribbles he made in the margin. The inmate allegedly nicknamed him Baby Jesus. They said that's what the inmates called him. There appeared to be credibility issues in his trial. The star witness asked for money in exchange for testimony. Another eyewitness claimed that the shooter was 5'7" and dark skinned, and Lloyd was not dark skinned. One of the victims, Percy Branch, who died 3 weeks later, he adamantly told the police that Lloyd was not the shooter. He said Lloyd did not shoot him before he died. The murder weapon was never recovered. Judge Robert Sperry said from the bench that it's an embarrassment, certainly, and shoddy police work. Lloyd took the stand in his own defense. He said he was somewhere in Hollywood at the time of the murders. At the conclusion of the proceedings, Lloyd Avery was convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. He arrived at Pelican Bay State Prison in March 2001. During his time there, Lloyd kept out of trouble and was mostly preoccupied with spreading God's word to his fellow inmates. He was preaching about God. His cellmate, Kevin Roby, an Air Force Academy dropout and paranoid schizophrenic, serving a life sentence for the SA and killing of his sister in January 1987. During Robbie's during Robbie's time in prison, he allegedly had a different faith, and that was of Satanism. Lloyd Avery wrote a letter to Chaplain Clark dated August 29th, 2005. In his letter, he told Chaplain Clark that he knows God had Roby around him for a reason. He said he knows very well that I am a devout Christian and I pray for him to the Lord every day that he gives his life to God. Kevin Roby allegedly said that Avery was trying to convert him and was warned to stop preaching about God. On the evening of Sunday, September 4th, 2005, things got violent. He claims Lloyd was trying to convert him to Christianity, which led to them fighting, where he choked Lloyd unconscious, causing him to bleed into his lungs. Then placed Lloyd's body in bed under the covers to not alert the guard of his death. Lloyd Avery's family, including his brother Kay and mother, did not believe the story surrounding his death. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation listed the cause of death as aspiration of blood with blunt force trauma as a contributing factor. The Avery family did their own private autopsy, which stated the cause of death as blunt force trauma complicated by aspiration of blood. It also made mention of the injury to Lloyd's skull, describing the 1.5-inch abrasion on his temple, suggestive of either a blow due to a flat surface, such as a carpenter's hammer, or impact on a similar type surface. Lloyd Avery was buried at Inglewood Park Cemetery in Inglewood, California. Lloyd was a memorable part of Hollywood. The role he played is unforgettable, totally unforgettable. He changed his life around before he died. He knew God. It's sad that it ended that way for Lloyd. He is not forgotten.